Hey guys, my name is Hannah and I would say let's have some fun today. To be honest, with this video I wasn't sure if I want to film it or not because I always thought my collection isn't big enough for that, but at the end, you know, I think to have 9 palettes of one brand is really enough for me personally, and I don't feel like I will purchase more palettes in the near future from Pat McGrath. So at the end I thought, you know what, I have 9 palettes that I really love from Pat McGrath. I really want to rank them, so why not? I know some people have more, some people have less palettes from her, but I'm really happy right now with my 9 palettes from Pat McGrath, and so I really want to rank them today with you. I will... which side is the best? I think this side. I will go a little bit to the side so I can insert some pictures of me wearing the palettes for you guys. I really like content where I also see how the palettes are looking on the eyes on the creators, and so I really want to do that as well. So without further ado, I would say let's get started. At place 9 is my Fleur Fantasia palette. Don't get me wrong, all 9 palettes I have from Pat McGrath I really love, but in comparison to my other palettes that I have from her, this is really the one that's not standing out the most to me, but when I'm wearing it, I'm really loving it. I really love the lavender shade right here and this really pinky golden glowy shade right here, and I also really love this peachy shade. The only shade I think it's not the greatest of all is maybe the gold, because it's a little bit lackluster for me, to be honest, and I think would this shade be swapped out with another really interesting shade or something like that, I would like this one a little bit more, but yeah. It has to be ranked somewhere, so it's on the 9th place. I really enjoy it, I really love it, I really love the looks I created. It's really the most spring-like palette for me, and therefore I really like it. But in comparison to my other Pat McGrath palettes, it's not my favorite one, to be honest. But nonetheless, I really like to wear this one very much, and when I'm wearing it, I feel really ethereal and beautiful with it. So nonetheless, it's a really beautiful palette, but for me it's on the 9th place if I had to rank it somewhere. So yeah, that would be the last one. So the 8th place. This was a little bit difficult for me, to be honest, because I was between 2 palettes. I was between the Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze palette and the Empty Rose Decadence palette. Those are the 2 palettes I was between because I really like the quality of this one very much, but these are more my tones. So this one was a little bit tough for me, to be honest. I love them both, don't get me wrong. They are really beautiful, in my opinion, really beautiful palettes. But when I'm looking at what I wear the most and what I'm wearing a little bit less of the 2, then I think at the 8th place would be the Subliminal Bronze palette from Pat McGrath, the 6-pan palette. I like it, I really like it, but I don't gravitate towards these tones that often. I really like cool tones, I like warm tones, I like everything in between. I'm very adventurous often with my kind of shades that I want, that I like, so it's nothing that I don't really like or something like that. I really love this palette, and the metallics in here are so unreal and so buttery smooth. I'm really a big fan of them. But if I had to choose between this one and the rosy one, I think the rosy tones are more my kind of colors that I really want to reach for on a daily basis. And those are not that often, yeah, in my thoughts when I'm waking up and think what I want to do today with my look. I don't really gravitate towards it, but when I'm wearing it I really love it, and there are some relatively big dips in it, so it's not that I don't use it. I really use it relatively often, but in comparison to my other ones, it's not quite there for me. You know what I mean? It's not quite the palette that I want to reach for every day because, yeah, I don't know. It's not getting me that excited when I'm looking at the color story. But when I'm touching them, I'm seeing them, I'm putting them on my eyes, I think they are so stunning and beautiful, and then I every time think to myself, why don't you use this palette more often? What is your problem, Hannah? But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I'm not really gravitating that often towards it. So in comparison, it have to be on the 8th place. Number 7, you saw it before, so I gave it away, but on the 7th place is my Rose Decadence palette from Pat McGrath, also the 6-pan. I'm really loving the tones. I really get many compliments when I'm wearing the shades, especially when I'm wearing this bronzy shade and top it off with this glittery toppery kind of a shade. Especially when I'm wearing those two colors together on my eyes, I notice that I really get so many compliments and the people really notice that something is special with my eyes or something like that, you know what I mean? So yeah, therefore I think I'm really liking it and I'm really gravitating relatively often towards it, to be honest. I have many palettes that are in that pinky rosy direction, so I have a big variety when it comes to that. So it's really hard for me to choose that day when I want a pinky look which palette I want to use, because in that direction I have really many palettes, to be honest. It's not that good, but it is what it is. So yeah, in that case, so that's the reason why I don't use it as often as I maybe wanted to, but when I'm using it, I'm really loving it. And I know this palette got really many mixed reviews. Some people really liked it, some people really thought it's boring and it's not really that interesting, but I think it's a really beautiful, stunning and dreamy palette. So I'm personally really loving it, but in comparison again to my other palettes, yeah, it is a little bit far down, but nonetheless, I'm really liking this one as well. On the 6th place is a quad again, and it's my Nocturnal Nirvana quad. I'm really loving this one. I think the shades are so beautiful, so special, and every shade in here is in fact her special formula. Her really glittery, shiny, beautiful formula that we all know and love. But it's a little bit more farther down because this is the only quad I think I paid really full price for, or the only palette I paid full price for when I'm thinking about it now. I think this is really the only palette I didn't bought at a sale or something like that, and it's the only palette I paid full price for. So for that reason, it's a little bit far down because I may be a little bit more critical with it. I don't like especially the lilac-y shade right here. It's not that it's not good, but it's a little bit dry feeling and it's also a little bit crumbly. I don't know if it's the formula that it's a little bit changing over the time, but I know when I got it right away it was that way. So it was from day one on, it was really dry and a little bit more crumbly, but once it's on your eyes it's really beautiful and nice looking, and I'm really loving this color. But therefore I'm a little bit hesitant to gravitate towards this lilac-y shade down here. All the other 3 shades are really beautiful, but for that price point I think it's a little bit sad that this one is a little troublemaker for me, the lilac-y shade, and therefore I don't really use it that often, to be honest. It's really rarely that I'm opening this palette right here and think, oh, today I want to use the lilac-y shade or something like that. It's always one of those 3 shades right here, the gold, the blue or the greeny shifty one. It's always one of those, and it's really rarely that I want to use the lilac shade down here. So that for the palette is a little bit more down, but nonetheless it's beautiful. But for me the lilac shade is a little bit too dry, to be honest. It's beautiful on the eyes, but because of the reason I paid full price for this one and I'm not blown away by the lilac shade, and there are only 4 shades to be amazed by, therefore it is on the 6th place. So guys, now we came to the top 5 palettes, and I love all 9 palettes that I showed you today, don't get me wrong, but those 5 palettes are really the top of the top for me from Pat McGrath. I'm really loving them, I'm cherishing them, and I have so much fun with them. So these are really my favorite of the favorite palettes from her that I own, of course. Number 5 is my Pat McGrath and Bridgerton Diamond of the First Quarter palette. Guys, when I'm telling you, those colors are so beautiful, so sparkly, especially this bluish shade right here. This is the shade that really gets this palette on the top, because I really like to pull it out just for this bluish shade right here. But nonetheless, not just this blue shade right here, also this red and this rosy tone, this tone right here. They're so beautiful, so pigmented and so beautiful looking on the eyes. And I really love the look that I did with you together. This really reddish rosy halo eye with the blue in the middle. I really love that look so much, and it's so beautiful, and I can't tell you how much I love it. And I have the feeling this special formula from her is even more specialier than her other ones from the field, but it could also just be because it's a newer palette and therefore it's a little bit more, yeah, fresh, if you know what I mean. But nonetheless, this palette is so stunning and I really want to do so many more looks with it. I really love it, and it's just a 6 pan, but for a 6 pan I'm really yeah, excited about it, and therefore it needs to be on the 5th place. But it's not higher up because I think the other ones, I think they deserve a little bit more credit because of the size and because of the color variety that you get in those ones. But nonetheless, this is a really beautiful palette. I enjoyed every look till now that I created with this one, and I'm so happy about that. Initially, I didn't want to get that one for me, and my boyfriend got it for me for my birthday, and I'm so grateful for that, because now I just can't live without it, to be honest. It's so beautiful and I'm really in love with it. So I'm very happy that I have it now in my collection. So the last 4 palettes. This was so hard for me, guys, so hard. I wasn't sure which one I want to rank where, but I think I have it now. It could change someday, I don't know, but right now I feel like this, and I hope it's okay. So at number 4 is the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette. It's this beauty right here, and I'm loving it. It's this year's palette, and she bring both palettes back, this one and the old Mega palette. She brought them back, and I'm very excited for that, because now more people get the chance to get those palettes, because I think you really get bang for your buck with those palettes, and they are so worth it, believe me. They are really beautiful, so stunning. Those metallics especially, they are so stunning on the eyes. Even though her special formula isn't in here, you didn't really notice this, because you have this one right here, and this is a so sparkly shade that you really don't miss her special formula that much, in my opinion, because I think it's really made up for the special formula, those glittery, toppery shades that she included in this palette. So I think those make really up for the fact that here's not a single special shade in here from Pat McGrath. But it's really don't bother me, because the shades themselves are so stunning and beautiful looking that you don't really think about her special formula in that moment, in my opinion. And I really enjoyed every look I created with this palette. Every shade in here is so pigmented, so sparkly, so beautiful, and others are so metallic looking, and I really can create so many beautiful looks with it. I can go in so many directions, and therefore I really appreciate this palette, and I'm so happy that I bought it. I'm really glad about that because it's a stunning palette. The third place is another mega palette, and there are only 2 that existing right now, so it's not a surprise to you. It's the Celestial Divinity mega palette from Pat McGrath, is this one. And the reason because this one is a little bit higher up there than the other one. It has nothing to do with quality, nothing to do with this is better, this is not so good. The reason is I'm someone who's really hesitate to play with lilac-y and bright fuchsia shades like that, like the shades that are in this palette. But every time I'm using this one, it's so easy. It's so easy for me to play with them, to feel confident and comfortable to play with them and to put them on my eyes. And in the end, they are looking so stunning and beautiful. And this is really the only palette I have that feeling with those kind of shades that are in here. Especially the fuchsia shade right here, this really bright shade. Normally I would shy a little bit more away from shades like that, but this palette really makes it so easy to play with those shades, and therefore I'm really appreciating it. And this is also the palettes I have on my eyes today, and I played a little bit with it. I'm really loving the look that I came up with, and it's a stunning look. I really have a nice time every time I'm using this palette. And I really thought very long about this one and the Odyssey palette from this year or from last year. And in the end I came to the conclusion that this one is a little bit higher up, not because I like it more than the other one. I like both, to be honest, very equally. But when I think about what this one gives me, what the other one doesn't, it's that I'm the first time in my life really confident to play with really bright lilac-y shades. And therefore I think this palette really deserves its place. So guys, the last 2 palettes, and the last 2 are both my 10 pan palettes, and I just have 2 from her, so yeah. But I thought a little bit about it, which one I want to rank higher than the other one, and I came to the conclusion that on the second place it's my Subversive palette, and I'm loving this one so much. It's so beautiful. I love this shifty bluish lilac shade. I love this rosy shade. I love this greenish goldeny shade. It's so stunning, metallic and opaque. And yeah, I also really like the darker shades. I'm normally someone who's a little bit afraid to play with black, but in this case I really like to use the black. It's really soft, really smooth and really easy to use as well. So I'm really pleased with that one. And I thought I needed a lighter shade to make this one work, but I really don't. I'm really set with the colors that are in this palette, and therefore I'm really happy with it. This is my only glittery black shade that I have, that it's really metallic-like, and I really love those. Even though I don't use those kinds of shade that often, I'm really loving that it's in here. And overall the vibe of this palette is so out there, so beautiful, and it's really outstanding. And I think it's a really underrated palette from Pat McGrath, and I'm really loving it, and I'm so happy that I have it. I loved every look that I created with it. I have so much fun with it. I feel like a makeup artist with it, and I'm feeling really special when I'm opening this one. It's a beautiful and stunning palette, and I'm so happy that it's in my collection. Number 1, if you know a little bit my collection, you know what it is. It's my Divine Rose 2 palette from Pat McGrath. It's a stunning palette for every day, for a night out, for everything, to be honest. Mine has a little problem. Wait for it. I have a really unique one, but it's okay. I'm not mad about that. But I'm really loving it. I crystallized my real favorite shade out of here. I told you guys, and it's like that I really love this shade right here. over time I realized that my real favorite shade is this hot pink one. I'm so in love with it. It's so easy to put it on your eyes, to blend it out, to play with it, to wear it honestly. So easy. It's not intimidating at all, for me at least it's not. And I have so much fun with this hot pink shade right here, and I also love this trio chrome right here. It's also really stunning and beautiful, and it's so ethereal looking. I feel like an elf or something like that when I'm wearing this one. And all in all, it's a really cohesive and beautiful palette, and this was my ever first big mothership from Pat McGrath, and I'm really happy that I decided to get this one for my first one. I also love the packaging. I love everything about it. I also love that it has a little crack, and it's not perfect. It's perfect imperfect, and therefore I'm really loving it. And I also loved every look that I created with this one. I think it's a really stunning and amped up palette, but it's also really everyday friendly, so therefore I can reach every day in it, and I'm really happy about that. And it's overall a whole feeling to opening this one in the morning, to get ready with this one. And I always feel with Pat McGrath stuff like an old Hollywood movie star or something like that. It's a really special feeling with her palettes, and I'm very happy that I have a good amount of palettes from her in my collection, and I'm really grateful for that. So guys, this was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I helped you a little bit. Maybe you have a similar taste to mine in case of eyeshadows, and this was a little bit helpful to decide which one you want to get maybe faster than other palettes from her, or you want to have your first palette and there was a palette in it that you're eyeing for a long time, and I made the decision maybe a little bit easier for you. So in that case, I would be really happy if you let me know in the comments. And like I told you, I don't have the highest amount of palettes from Pat McGrath like maybe other YouTubers have, but I'm not really mad about that. To be honest, it would be, I'm now really overwhelmed sometimes with my Pat McGrath stuff that I have, and I really have the feeling, oh, I really haven't used this one for such a long time, and I feel really bad for that and something like that. So right now I'm sometimes really a little bit overwhelmed with my 9 palettes from her, and I couldn't imagine to have every palette from her. I don't say it wouldn't be nice and I wouldn't be happy about that, but I think it would be sometimes too overwhelming for me, and therefore I'm really not mad that I don't have every palette from Pat McGrath. So I think I have the ones that I really wanted, and therefore I'm really thankful and I'm really happy about that. So I hope you enjoyed this video anyways, and you had just a little bit fun and you could maybe get your mind off something during our time here together. And I would say we will see each other in my next video, and until then, bye guys.